Hey guys, welcome to Manosphere Nation. I'm your host, James. In this video, we're going to talk about three traits or three characteristics that you need to vet women for if you're considering them for a long-term relationship. And we're going to do that right after the intro. Okay guys, when it comes to traits and common characteristics that you should look for in a woman, I know a lot of times this can be somewhat subjective. You know, what one guy deems very valuable or very important, another guy may not mean all that much to him. You know, as they say, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. That being said, I do believe that there are some common traits, some common characteristics that women need to have if they are going to be in a long-term relationship with you and it's going to be successful. The first trait is effort. And effort, I'm going to break this down into three categories because I personally require effort in all three of these areas, and I think you should too. The first, is she putting in effort to get to know you? Is she putting in effort to see you, to be with you? Is she making herself available to be with you? Is she putting herself into your orbit? From the very beginning, if you find that you're initiating all the communication, maybe you get her out on a date and you're asking her questions, and maybe she's answering them, but she's not asking any of her own. A lot of times that could signal that she doesn't have any interest, but to me that shows low effort. And even if she is interested in you, if she's not putting in effort now in the very beginning stages, how much effort is she going to put in long term? To me, the way I see it is, if she's making an effort in the beginning, she's more likely to be invested in you and invested in the relationship, and the more success I think the relationship will be long term. The second area that I think she needs to put effort in is, can she support herself? Is she capable of making her own money? Is she capable of taking care of herself? I don't necessarily care so much what her career is, as long as she's willing to work to make her own money, and as long as she's trying to get ahead in that. Years ago, I went out on one date, went out with a woman who was a single mother, and when we got to talking, I asked her what she did. She was a stay-at-home mom, and I remember thinking, and I've mentioned this before, I remember thinking, how are you supporting yourself by being a stay-at-home mom? Well, turns out she had a couple different baby daddies. She was getting child support from them, and she was getting government assistance. She was essentially getting welfare and food stamps and that kind of stuff. And I immediately realized, man, she's probably viewing me as an ATM. This isn't for me. It also made me realize that I want a woman who is willing to work and who's willing to if she's willing to help herself, then chances are she's willing to help you in a relationship. When you guys come together, she's willing to make an effort, not just to get to know you, but an effort to make the partnership work, an effort to help pay the bills and that kind of stuff. As I said, I'm not focusing so much on what her career is, just the fact that she has one, as I said before, and the fact that she's trying to get ahead in it. The third area where I think she needs to make an effort is she trying to take care of herself physically? Is she taking care of herself mentally? Is she taking care of herself emotionally? I found this out years ago with an ex-wife who, once we got married, once we had a kid or two, she kind of just let herself go. She put on a lot of weight. She quit wearing makeup. She quit doing her hair. She just wear sweatpants and baggy clothes all the time. And, you know, of course, I got to the point I was not physically attracted to her. And of course, eventually things ended. We got divorced. And I remember it was like 6-9 months later, She came to my house. She dropped the kids off. It was my weekend with the kids, and I came out to her vehicle to get the kids. She was wearing really nice clothes, and her hair was done, and she had makeup on. And I suddenly, I didn't say anything, but I knew she's got a date. But suddenly it dawned on me, she wasn't making that effort for me in our marriage, but she was making that effort for him. And so I think a woman needs to make that effort. She doesn't have to go to the gym, not for me every single day, but I want one that's physically active, that tries to eat somewhat healthy, that tries to live a fairly healthy lifestyle. I hit the gym religiously. I'm there 3-4 times a week. I keep myself in pretty good shape. I think I have a right to expect that from whoever I'm dating. In addition, does she try to take care of herself mentally and emotionally? And what I mean by that is she setting goals for herself? Is she trying to improve herself? I mentioned just a little bit ago about trying to get ahead with her career or get ahead in her job. I don't want a woman who's stagnant. I don't want a woman who's just doing just enough to get by. I want a woman with a little bit of drive and ambition. It doesn't have to be much, but just enough that it's going to complement me and what I'm trying to do. As I mentioned, I'm the bus driver. She's getting on for the ride, but I want her to do her part while I'm driving the bus. If she's working on improving herself, she's also going to try to help you improve, and I think that's very important. All right, guys, the second trait that I look for, is she sexually generous? Men crave physical intimacy. We crave that physical touch, and women know this. So you want a woman who wants that same intimacy and who wants and makes herself available to you sexually. Here a couple of years ago, I dated a woman. We went out for about 3 months, and I remember by the 3rd month, I felt like trying to get sex with her was pulling teeth. It was almost to the point of I felt like we were having to negotiate for it. And I remember the last time we were together, I wasn't going to stay the night because I had to get up real early the next morning, so I was going to go back home. But we went out to eat. We came home. We actually wound up having sex. Actually, we had sex first. Then we went out to eat. We did some other stuff. We came back to her house, and before I left, I was like, "Hey, you want to do it one more time?" And she's like, "No, I'm just not." And for me, I'm thinking the first 6 months, year of a relationship, man, that should be all you guys want to do. And so I remember right at that time when she said that, I remember thinking, if this is what it's going to be like after 3 months, what's it going to be like after 3 years? And I realized right there, we were not going to be compatible sexually. Sex needs to come natural for her. She needs, as I mentioned, she needs to want it as much as you do. That being said, guys, you also have a responsibility. You need to make it as enjoyable for her as she is for you. So a lot of guys out there are kind of selfish lovers. Once they get theirs, they're done. They roll over, go to sleep. Man, you got to focus on her as much as she is focusing on you. Guys, the third thing that I look for in a woman is kindness. Hopefully you've heard the tip about the way women treat the service people or staff is the same way she's going to treat you one day. Now, what I mean by service people, for example, would be the wait staff at a restaurant or a bar. Maybe it's the checkout clerk at a fast food restaurant or a grocery store. How she treats them, as I said, someday will be the way she treats you. But in addition to that, you also need to look at how does she interact with her coworkers and her boss? How does she interact with her family? And how does she interact with her friends? If you find that she's bad-mouthing her coworkers a lot, guys, that should be a red flag. Don't get me wrong, everybody has that one boss or that one coworker that drives them nuts. So, if you see her and she has the occasional gripe about Becky in accounting or her boss did this thing today, yeah, everybody has that. But if she's going overboard with the complaints, and even more importantly, if she has multiple coworkers that she's complaining about, that's enough to give me pause. It makes me start to wonder, okay, who here is the problem? If she's got problems with all these coworkers and problems with her boss, is the problem with all of them, or is the problem with her? Because in the end of the day, she's the common denominator out of all of that. As I mentioned, how does she get along with her family? And I'm not even getting into the daddy issues part. I'm just saying, how does she get along with her family? No family's perfect, but continual fights, continual problems, continual issues with her family, that should be a red flag to you. And even if her family is indeed the problem, say she's a pretty decent woman, but her family has problems and her family is causing issues, this is something you should take note of, because as your relationship progresses, their actions could begin to impact your relationship with her. Guys, this is equally true with her exes. If she does not get along at all with her exes, and especially if they have kids together, even if he's the jerk, and I'm here to tell you, there's always two sides to every story, but even if he's the problem, he can still negatively impact your relationship, which is going to cause problems and grief for you. Clearly, that's something I would take note of. And finally, when it comes to her friends, is she always griping about her friends? Man, can you believe Michelle did this? Or, man, Becky's doing that with her boyfriend again, or whatever it is. Guys, I promise you, if she's bad-mouthing her friends behind their backs, eventually you'll be lumped in with those friends, and she will start to bad-mouth you behind your back to her friends. So if she's always got something negative to say, or she's not happy with her friends, guys, that's a red flag. You should take note of that. All right, guys, that's been 3 traits or 3 characteristics that you need to vet women before you get into a long-term relationship with them. Guys, if you found this video helpful, if you found it informative, please give us a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification so that you know when we release new videos. If you have a buddy, some guy that you know that is thinking about getting into a long-term relationship and you think this video will help him, please share it. Help spread the word and help Manosphere Nation grow so that together we can all become better men.